Hi there, Shauna here from Wellness Seeker with your live session for Monday night. So, as promised, tonight's live is around the responsibility for other people's feelings, why you are not responsible, how you're not responsible, and the details around all of that. So, without further ado, and hopefully if you join me live, you can let me know if you can hear me. I am coming to you from a new device, and I am hoping that you can hear me loud and clear, and that whoever is on can give me a thumbs up or let me know that the sound is okay and that all is well. If you can let me know, Katrina, if the sound is okay, that'd be brilliant. Good. So fantastic. So tonight's video is about being responsible or not being responsible for other people's feelings. I know so many of us are caught in that trap where we hold ourselves back from saying or doing or kind of really doing what's right for us because we're so caught up in how other people will feel. And for a lot of people, this is really difficult, really sore for people. It's something that they get trapped in. It's something that they just can't cope with. And that's what I wanted to do tonight. I wanted to kind of go through the detail of that. So this video is for you. If you find yourself holding yourself back because you don't want to say the wrong thing, you don't want to upset anybody, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you're always second guessing, maybe, did I say the right thing, did I do the right thing, maybe I shouldn't have done that, maybe I shouldn't have said that. You know, if you're kind of stopping yourself doing the important things because it'll upset him, it'll upset her, well, hopefully if you let me know of that, hopefully the connection can back on there. So, there's two stages of this tonight, okay? And we're going to go through these two stages in great detail. So, the first stage in this is understanding why and how you are not responsible. And we're going to look at this from your point of view. We're going to look at this from your point of view in that you're the one that's worrying. You're the one that's stopping yourself from doing stuff. You're the one that's holding yourself back. You're the one that's second guessing yourself. And in order to break free from that pattern, in order to break free from that way of being, we need to understand one thing first. Feelings. Where do they come from? How is it you are responsible? Well, let's understand feelings first. In its very basic form, a feeling is your body's physical response to a threat or reward. So, if you've said something, if you're doing something and someone else is having a huge feeling around it or a huge difficulty with it, that feeling has come from a threat or a reward understanding in their brains. Now, what does that mean? It means as human beings, everything that we do is assess for threat and reward. And when our thoughts are rewarding, the feelings are corresponding. When our thoughts are negative or when our thoughts are threatening, then the feeling corresponds with the threat. So what we're really doing the whole time is just trying to survive. Just trying to survive and have the best life that we can. So what we do is we walk around assessing whether something is good for us or bad for us, something is positive for us or negative for us. And that's basically what our thoughts are doing. That's basically what our feelings are indicating for us. So let's try and understand then what would be a threat if you get a difficult feeling, or that person is telling you that you've hurt their feelings, or that person is telling you that you've made them feel a certain way. What would be their threat? What would be that sensation? What has caused that sensation? And this is really important to understand. So hi to everybody that's watching. Hi to Jean, hi Tracy, hi Maureen. Thanks so much, and I'm delighted you could join me on this new device tonight, so hopefully you can hear me loud and clear. So what is it? What exactly is it that's causing the threat in that other person? Well, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of why we get these difficult feelings, why we get these threats, and you can begin to see when people respond to you negatively, when people say you've made me feel, you've hurt my feelings, what they might be talking about in themselves that they just don't recognise, but they're just quite happy and easy to hand it over to your good self. So there's a list of things. The first thing is, every one of us have a blueprint. Every one of us have a deep blueprint in ourselves. And that blueprint is handed down from childhood. And this blueprint will tell you how life should be. It'll tell you what kind of marriage you should have. It'll tell you what will make, what to expect in life. And this blueprint is your idea or that other person's idea of what to expect in life. Now, if that blueprint is not met, you get people, all of us, who will be threatened by that, who will be disrupted by that, who will be responding and feeling to that blueprint not being met. Now, if you're a part of that, for example, say you wanted to sail off into the Bahamas and your partner or your friends or wanted you to hang around because their blueprint is that they are connected to as many people as possible, then they are going to be upset because what you're doing doesn't fit into their blueprint. Now, give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up if you can see the detail of why somebody's blueprint will be so disrupting, absolutely so disrupting. So we all have blueprints, and if those blueprints don't go to plan, people can get really disrupted. They can have very difficult emotion around it, and they can often lash out to you, who's on the other end, and tell you that they're annoyed at you because you've hurt their feelings but they really don't understand that there maybe is a blueprint at play here and that you have just come off their blueprint and that's not good enough for them. The second thing is if the other person's human needs aren't being met. Now, this happens all the time. Even in my own marriage, it happens all the time. My basic human need is variety. My husband's is certainty, and we would clash. We would clash around me wanting my needs met on a Sunday to go and do lovely things like kayaking or whatever that is, or biking or whatever that is. And my husband would like to have everything in routine and everything organised, and I don't want that. And so I used to actually get into battles where I would say, you're making me feel like I'm hemmed in. You're making me feel like, that I don't like the weekends. That had nothing to do with him. It was me, and this core wound was triggered in me. It wasn't a core wound, it was a human need that was triggered in me. I wasn't getting my need for variety met, and instead of pushing it onto him, I had to find out how I was going to get that need met on myself. So again, there's another thing to watch out for. Is it the other person is annoyed because their blueprint is out of whack? Are their human needs not being met? So you can start to see the build of what creates discomfort in another, what creates difficult feeling in another, and it's not you. Your wants, your needs, your hopes, your dreams, your talk, your language, what you say, what you feel has really, 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 really only got to do with you and got to do with you loving your best purpose. It only hurts the other when it grates against what they want for them. And you have to absolutely remember that. Because if you wobble in that, then you don't then meet your own needs and everything kind of falls apart. The other thing is the expectations in a relationship. We've all got these expectations that this relationship will provide A, B, C, and D. And when they don't, we often blame the other. We often say, it's your fault that you've made me feel this way because I have expectations. Again, that's like a blueprint, but this time it's of the relationship and not of the world or not of what life should look like. The biggest one that I see, and I see it consistently in therapy, and it is a consistent one, is whenever a core wound is touched. Now, you've heard me talk about core wounds. If you reverse back into all of those videos, there's 100 million videos on core wounds. But I can tell you, see if someone's core wound is triggered, it creates havoc in relationships. Now, what do I mean by a core wound? You'll know if you've touched somebody's core wound. If someone has said, you have hurt my feelings, I'm really devastated by the depth of the feeling that they're articulating. Sometimes they go crazy, sometimes they are really, 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 really angry and you're getting all the blame. If that is the case, you will know that you have touched something very deep. But I can tell you for sure that in most cases, in the 99.99% of the time, you are touching an old wound, or they're responding in an old way that has happened to them, possibly in childhood, possibly in teenage years, but does not belong to you. But it feels to them like it belongs to you, and that's why they're pushing against you. So what I hear time and time again in session is that, and especially when people come with relational difficulties, friends relationships, parent relationships, is that it touches something deep inside them. And even work relationships, and it grates something in them. And when you go and look for what it grates at, what it causes, what the anger is, what the annoyance is, you will find that that is a wound that does not belong to the person in question, that is a wound that belongs somewhere in the past. And it's the most amazing, freeing thing. So just to recap, if you ever find yourself in a situation where someone is saying, you made me feel, I feel like this because I'm angry at you because you haven't done A, B, C, D, E, F, or G. Just step back a wee bit and ask yourself, what is this triggering in them? Is it the blueprint? Is it the human need? Especially if you're close to them. Is it an old wound? What is it that you are triggering? Is there something that this is not yours, and separate yourself and try and get a view. Sometimes we get so caught up in how the other is feeling, and because it's so strong, we think it has to be our fault. And it absolutely isn't. Look, the only thing I would say in the opposite to that is, unless you've deliberately went out to actually really, victimize and hurt somebody, which anybody listening to this video, that's not their form. Their form is pleasing, their form is helping, that is not their form. So unless you've deliberately gone out and hurt somebody, the chances are that you've triggered one of those 4 things that I've just mentioned on them. And here's the thing, that is theirs to own, and their responsibility to clear, not yours. And when they understand who owns this, they're in a much better position to clear it themselves, take responsibility for it, and continue with the relationship. Because that's exactly what happens when we take responsibility from them. They abdicate responsibility for what this is in them. And then you have this difficult relationship that runs out. And does that make any sense? If you can let me know if that makes sense. When we take the responsibility of the feeling from the other, then they can abdicate the responsibility by just giving us that over. They never have to look at themselves. They never have to ask themselves a question. They never have to go deep inside themselves. They never have to ask themselves any of those questions. And they can stay stuck in that way of being for a long, long time. And you can stay stuck in that relationship where you're constantly feeding their needs. And that is such a difficult place to be. Now, I know this isn't conventional stuff, but sure, as you know, most of the stuff that I will be putting out wouldn't be conventional, but it is absolutely so important to your relationships, to your own mental health, that this is understood. Now, the other thing that I would say, right, is if you find that after watching this video, it's not that easy just to let people take responsibility for their own feelings and you sail off into the sunset and do whatever you want. If you find that you cannot separate yourself from their feelings, there is absolutely something that you're needing in their response, or in you taking the responsibility. Now, what does that mean? And we're starting to get into this phase 2. Next week's video, we're going to get really into the detail of this. So basically, I'll give you an example for that. If you find yourself still second guessing, if you find yourself still pleasing, if you find yourself still taking responsibility after all of this, then that is what I would call a disease to please. There is something that you need from that interaction. There's a feeling that you're trying to create, or something that you're trying to avoid. Now, what does that mean? So let's take an example, right? Say, for example, you were in a relationship and you were trying to make them feel okay the entire time, okay? So you didn't want to upset them, didn't want them to be annoyed, didn't want them to be didn't want them to be annoyed at you, didn't want them to be upset with you. There's a reason for that. And just let's put on a reason for this example. Maybe it's because if they're annoyed at you, they will leave you and you will be on your own, and you can't do loss and you can't do without love, because that's your basic human need. So you will please and placate and be responsible for forever more a man, until you can understand what it is that you are trying to create in the pleasing or in the responsibility. What you're trying to keep, what you're trying to hold on to, what you can't lose. That is the most freeing thing. Because when you understand, if you just can't walk away from the responsibility of other people's feeling, there is absolutely something that you're getting out of it. And you have to switch that off first, and then the other stuff is easy. Now what we're going to do next week is we're going to do part 2 of this, which is the disease to please. How to check that, how to get into the detail of that. You know, I'm going to give you some questions to do for yourselves to check what am I looking for here? Why can't I not let them take responsibility? Why am I consistently trying to please? And what we're going to do is we're going to ask some questions and try to then ultimately free you from the disease to please. So if you would let me know if that was useful, that would be brilliant. It is a nightmare, absolutely, Billy. It is a nightmare. It's a nightmare, and it can be so overwhelming. Thank you, Fiona. It's lovely to see you. It makes sense. Yeah, feeling content and clear. Absolutely, Fiona. That sounds as if you're on the right path, Fiona, that you're on the path to freedom and doing what it is you want. Brilliant. All right, Bernadette, fantastic. Makes sense. Good, Jean, I'm delighted. And if anybody has any questions, fire away there. I'm more than happy to answer it. And I don't know if anyone has just heard the door there on the back, but we have a stray cat that opens the front door itself, and I think it might be making an appearance anytime soon. It actually opens the front door, and I've just heard it at the front door, so hopefully my husband will warn it off. Otherwise we will have a cat hanging around making itself known now. So without further ado, if there's any, oh brilliant, Donna, hi, nice to see you. Makes sense. Yeah, it's when you're armed with information, I think that you can make more decisions, you can make more informed decisions. You know, when you understand what it is people are being triggered, then you can give it back to them, you can give it over to them, you don't have to hold it for them, and you don't have to let them away with how they feel about themselves. So I'm delighted that made sense, Donna. And if anybody has any questions, fire away, and if not, I shall leave you for this lovely Monday evening, and I will see you all soon. I'll see you all next week for part 2. So we've no questions, and we've no cat yet, so good. So I shall see you all. I'll see you all next Monday. Thanks.